Welcome to the Weightlifting Platform, the first episode of the year 2022, where weightlifters around the world are asking themselves, do you think I need to be heavier or maybe lighter to make the right category come Paris in 2024? The Weightlifting Platform is brought to you by the Panamerican Weightlifting Federation. I'm your host, Richard Mason. On this week's show, our guest, Boadie Santavy, will talk to him about the Olympics and being the first Canadian male to win a medal at a senior world championship in decades. For our tip of the week, another Santavy, Noah, will give us some hands-on advice for both the snatch and the clean and jerk. And for our regular feature, Good to Know, the loss of a major contributor to amateur sport. But first, here are the headlines. We're going to start the new year with more IWF meetings and some postponed lifting. The IWF is inviting all member nations to a special congress held online at the end of this month. The meeting's agenda hasn't been released, but it's expected that job one will be to set in place the people who will look through the credentials of those running for office. The current leadership of the IWF is serving well beyond their original 4-year mandate, pushed into further service by a number of circumstances like the drafting of a new constitution, implementation, and the latest delay, questions about the mandate of the group that had vetted the last slate of candidates. Conceivably, this meeting will put the IWF on the final push to the first elections under the new rules, with a candidate call March 2nd. Vetting process wrapped up by the end of April and voting taking place June 25th and 26th. Speaking of delays, the next scheduled World Championship has been pushed back about a month. According to the IWF calendar now, the best juniors in the world will lift on the Greek island of Crete May 2nd through the 12th. That championship is being delayed just over a month. The IWF has also announced some of the locations for upcoming World Championship meets. In the next number of years, the IWF will hold meets in Albania, Norway, Saudi Arabia, Spain, Mexico, and Peru is also on the list. And those are today's headlines. Now, good to know, an important contributor to the Olympic and weightlifting movements has passed on. Former International Olympic Committee Director General Francois Carrard was instrumental in reforms at the IOC, in the creation of the World Anti-Doping Agency, the creation of the Court for Arbitration in Sport, and much more. Weightlifting was one of the many sports lucky enough to have been able to count on his support. He helped with the transition from a mostly amateur International Olympic Committee to the professional organization you see today. He was 83 years of age, and that is good to know. Now it's time to talk. Canada's Boadie Santavy earned the first senior world championship medal for a Canadian male in decades. He's an Olympian from Tokyo and comes from a long, long line of lifters. And we now welcome Boady to the weightlifting platform. Boady, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So let's start. I know the story. You and I were both Canadian. We've both been involved in the weightlifting community for a long time, even though you're significantly younger. So let's go back. How did you very first time find yourself with a barbell in your two little hands?
So as you know, I'm a third generation Insanity weightlifter, and I was always around the sport. My dad used to work late nights, so I was always around as a little baby until now. So I was like 6 years old, and my brother was 5. And my little brother Noah asked my dad if we can both lift. So one day he just asked that, and my dad said it was music to his ears. And next thing you know, here I am.
Now, at that point, you obviously aren't taking it seriously. You're starting with a broomstick or a barbell or whatever. At what point did you realize that this was something that was for you, that this is something that you could take seriously and take someplace?
I honestly don't even remember. I guess I guess I just love the sport so much as a little guy. Uh, I've honestly, I think I've just like loved the sport forever since I started, since I can remember. Honestly,
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit about your career. The first time I remember seeing you lift was at a junior nationals here in Winnipeg, and that was many years ago. And you were thought to be the the new up and coming phenom at that time. Your first international meet was back in 2013 as a 77, where you got bronze at Pan Am Youths. Having lifted in
yep.
Canada and then going lifting at the Pan Am level, what did you think? Were there many differences? Were you comfortable in the new environment? Travel, the whole thing?
It's a huge difference. It's definitely something that you should get into when you're young. Like competing internationally is good for your mentality in the sport. Makes you a stronger athlete. But yeah, it's a huge difference. I remember the excitement for me was unreal. Being my first international event, it's been something that I was training very hard for at the time. The travels was huge. Like even just a layover. I remember having a layover in Miami. I remember how exciting that was. Now I can't stand layovers, but as a new thing, it's very exciting. Um, the competition there's a huge difference too. Obviously, like a lot more competition because you're facing the best from around the world. But I enjoy and I thrive things like that. Thrive off things like that. It helps. It benefits my lifting for sure on the competition platform. So
Now,
it's a
y-
huge thing.
Canada usually has a system where we appoint the best lifters coach as the coach for the entire team. You're used to working with your dad. Um, your dad has been your coach, well, forever. Um, do you find that it's different working with somebody else, or do you prefer with, obviously you prefer to work with your dad at all times, but how do you find working with other coaches?
Um, it's it's not bad. Like it's good. Like if it's a good coach, then I'm fine with it. But obviously, like if I can always have my dad with me, then I would. But unfortunately, with his work, that he can't go all the time. But Worlds, for example, is really nice having Piros because Piros is somebody I've always looked up to as a young. Since I knew anything about weightlifting, I've always looked up to him, and I never thought that he'd one day be in the back room coaching me at a major event like that. So it's good, but my dad can wake me up. Like if my mind's not there, my dad can get my head ready and wake me up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. They
Compared
say
to
that
somebody who
parents,
doesn't coach me on a daily.
yeah, they say parents press your buttons sometimes a little more than anybody else, but it's also because they
Yeah,
installed those buttons.
yeah.
What did you? Can you share anything that you might have learned from Piros in the back room that that was different, or that that you thought, oh, this is something I should remember going forward?
I have a couple of tips from him for training wise. I know just lifting back there with him being there was unreal, but like when I'm lifting and I'm training, I'm in that mode. Like I'm in an aggressive mode, so I'm not really taking too much in. But like Pierce was a great lifter and a good coach, so he doesn't like he knows that you don't change too much technically when you're lifting. So he didn't try and change anything crazy in the middle of my. He was just making sure that I was keeping my technique right the way it needs to be, making sure the best he could that my mind was there and I was being aggressive, and he was actually doing a very good job at making me feel confident and with my weights in the back and the competition platform.
Now you brought it up. You said that when you're training, when you're getting ready, when you're amping up to go out on the platform, you're in an aggressive mode. I think was the phrase you used.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
somewhat is a. If I watch Ferris Alback, who's a friend of yours, I understand, and also in your
yeah. Oh
same
yeah,
category, he looks like he's in the most relaxed mode ever. He looks like he's walking to the beach with a towel over his arm and a pair of flip flops on his shoes, on his feet, while you
yeah,
look like you're getting ready to battle.
yeah. Oh
Is
yeah.
that just your style? Is that just the way that you look at things, or is that something that's been ingrained in you? Where does the aggressive come from?
I've just had that since I started competing. Well, actually, since I've been training as a young guy, watching certain lifters, and I don't know, it's just something that I think I liked when I was young. But also, there's a lot of things that happen to me that like even like the smallest things sometimes get me amped up and make me want to crush that weight so much more. Like for one example, at the Olympics, on my third snatch, I had the bar under control completely, and they're making me stand there and hold it a lot longer than it should. So I got more, like so much more hyped, and you could see the aggression come out of me. But when I'm walking out to the bar, like I conserve energy and I don't yell and stuff before. I'm aggressive in my mind, like ready to crush the weight, but I'm not letting out a bunch of wasted energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about Tokyo. Um, are you happy with what happened in Tokyo? This was your first Olympics. You're still young. You've got more in you. But as a first Olympics, are you content with what happened on the stage at the Tokyo International Forum?
Um, I wouldn't say. I don't know. I guess I'm happy. I guess I'm a little bit happy with my performance. Don't really know. I'm happy that I made the like. I didn't even think the Olympics were going to happen for the longest time, and yeah, just that. Like I was so nervous it wasn't going to happen. I if you think about it like this, I was in better shape than I would have been if the Olympics happened when they were originally supposed to happen. So um, I did. The snatch has always been my best lift, and I did get first in the snatch, and that's something that I could say I'm happy about. But I was good for physically good for more weight, but at that point the pain was more than ever. Mentally, it wasn't perfect, but I don't know. I try not to give too many excuses. I did what I did. I did what I could have done on the day. I gave it all for. I gave it my everything for each attempt, and it is what it is. But I'm excited for the next Olympics. It's my time. I'm gonna make these years my golden years, and I'm gonna train as hard as I possibly can. Make sure there's no mistakes, and fix everything that was wrong before. So
Now, there's a story with the outfit you wore at the Olympics. I'm going to let you tell the story. What is special about the singlet or the emblem on the singlet? There's a story there. I'll let you tell it.
okay, so my friend actually Mike Benzik gave me the singlet. I was a little bit younger and I was looking around for an old school singlet with the sleeves like that. Actually, because it was Piros used to wear a singlet like that, but I wanted the red for the Canadian colors. And so, anyways, he gave that to me for free. But the patch on it, it's just like a '70s Olympic patch, Team Canada patch from my grandpa that that I had laying around for a long time. And when I got that singlet, I got that patched onto there. So it was very special for me to wear that singlet at the Olympics.
And your grandfather was an Olympian back in the day.
Yeah, my grandpa competed in the '76 Olympics, and he also made the '68 Olympics.
Now, I see that you were on social media. I can see that you were just in a training camp in Aruba. Um, it's
Yep.
got to be different. Canada doesn't train together. Canadian athletes train wherever they are with their coaches. What do you get out of coming together with other athletes? I understand Enzo Kawarj of the
Yep.
Netherlands was there, and you've also done other training camps with other high-level athletes. What do you get out of a training camp?
Um, I normally get big weights. For me, I get big weights, solid training no matter what. Even if you don't PR, I still get solid training, lots of motivation. It's just a, for me, it's a perfect training environment. Training with somebody who can put up big weights, like as big weights as you or bigger even. Training with somebody at the same level as you, the same international level is very good for the mind and helps you do big things.
Okay, as a Canadian, I got to ask, Aruba in January. The weather was better than at home, I'm assuming?
Oh, oh man, you better believe it. I can't. I'm not liking this cold weather right now. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
I'd much rather
Well,
be
I
in that
appreciate the
Aruba
time.
heat.
Normally, we touch base here on the Tokyo plan or the Paris plan, but we talked about that a little bit. As for weight categories, that's, I guess, the only piece of the puzzle that we don't really know yet. In your head, um, does it bug you that you're not quite sure what the 5 weight categories will be for men, or can you worry about that? Can you train for that? Where does that leave you?
Well, first off, the Commonwealth Games are coming up, and I had to compete 96 there, so I'm not gonna really worry about it till after. But at the end of the day, I can't pick the weight classes. There's no point in stressing out about it. All you can do is when we do know the weight classes for sure, we just pick whatever class suits you and train for it. That's all you can do. No point in worrying about it or complaining. Just buckle up and get ready to compete in that weight class. But I've heard the rumors, or I've heard what weight classes are supposed to be coming out. But I don't want to say what I want to be yet because I don't want to. I want to
Tip me off. You're
make
you're
everybody.
afraid I'll
No, I want to
come
make
after
everybody
you?
think a little bit.
Okay. Okay, that's
Yeah,
fair. That's
I
fair.
want everyone to think a little
Thanks for
bit,
taking the
and
time. Now we're going to put you on the clock next. So buckle up, and we'll go in a few seconds. On the clock next.
okay.
Now, on the clock segment, we're going to put a 60-second clock up. That's the pressure that the athlete feels 60 seconds in weightlifting. We're going to ask you some questions about weightlifting. We're going to ask you some questions about everything else. And let's see just exactly how well you do. There's no scoring, just so you know.
Okay.
Let's go in 3, 2, 1. What's the favorite souvenir you brought home from Tokyo?
One of my mascots. I bought one of the
Okay.
mascots
What's
down
the
there.
best thing about living here in Canada?
I get to train with my family.
What's the worst thing?
The cold weather.
Do you have a tip for beating jet lag? Because you've been all over the world.
If you could sleep on the plane, but just yeah, that's it, pretty much it. Sleep on the plane, lots of water.
Boady's an unusual first name. Is there a story behind it?
My dad used to love surfing and still does, and he got it from the movie Point Break, the old movie with Patrick Swayze and Keanu Reeves.
Fantastic. Now, where's your favorite place to travel? Where is the favorite place you've been so far?
Tokyo, Australia, and Italy.
You got to choose one.
Italy.
Italy. Okay. The best food that you've eaten because of being part of weightlifting. Best meal you've had.
hmm Italian food for sure. Pizza or pasta from Italy for sure.
Okay. We went over on time. That's my fault, not yours. Thank you, Boady. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Our tip of the week is next. As we told you, the Santavys are a weightlifting family going back generations, decades. So, for our tip of the week, we head to Boady's younger brother, Noah, an international competitor himself, for some hands on advice in the tip of the week.
Hello guys from the weightlifting platform by Panamerica. My name is Noah Santavy. I'm a fourth generation weightlifter in my family. I'm a multiple world team member for Canada. I've competed at several Pan American championships as well. Also competed at several Canadian championships and the most recent 2021 Canadian Nationals. I won gold in my category and also won best male lifter. I've also been provincial champion for many years now. I love the sport of weightlifting and I'd like to do as many great things as I can. I'd like to thank the IWF for featuring me in this program. And now I'd like to give you some weekly tips. First, we're going to start off with some snatch tips. Bottom position, you want to start with your shoulders over top of the bar to ensure you're going to pull straight. And make sure you keep your hips down. That's to maximize the pull and get the whole body involved. Don't want your hips coming up too soon because then you're taking the legs out of the equation. Up, nice and straight, into the hips. Make sure you get a nice big finish on your toes and with your traps. That's how you pull. Want to make sure you catch it nice and strong. Rotate those elbows and squeeze the bar hard before standing up. Clean pull, same idea as a snatch pull. Shoulders over the bar to start, hips down, straight up into the hips. Finish. Position, you want to make sure you catch it with big shoulders, strong chest, elbows up, drive out of that plank. adjust the bar as you need to. Make sure your torso is nice and straight and solid. Weight on the heels. Dip nice and straight. And then drop that clean. Make sure your front foot moves. Make sure you got the weight under control. Line it up. Again, thank you so much for having me. I hope you find these tips helpful.
Thanks for joining us for this week's edition of the Weightlifting Platform, the first of the year 2022. Brought to you by the Pan American Weightlifting Federation. If you like what you see here, bookmark us on YouTube. You can also like the IWF on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, IWFNET. I'm your host, Richard Mason. Good lifting.